restaurant. But Alice's restaurant is not the name of the restaurant, it's just the name of this song. And that's why I call this song Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad tracks. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Now it all started 2 years ago on Thanksgiving. That's 2 Thanksgivings ago, when my friend and I decided to drive off and see Alice at the restaurant. But Alice doesn't live at the restaurant. She lives in the church nearby the restaurant up in the bell tower with her husband Ray and Pancho the dog. Now, seeing how they live up in the bell tower like that, they got a lot of room downstairs where the pews used to be. And seeing how they took out all the pews, they decided that they didn't have to take out their garbage for a long time. So my friend and I thought it would be a friendly gesture for us to take the garbage and take it on down to the city dump. So we loaded the half-ton of garbage into a red VW microbus with shovels and rakes and other implements of destruction and headed on down to the city dump. Now when we got there was a sign and a chain across the road saying, "Closed on Thanksgiving." And we had never heard of a dump closed on Thanksgiving before. So with tears in our eyes, we drove off into the sunset looking for another place to put the garbage. Didn't find one until we come to a side road, and off the side of the side road was a 50-foot cliff. And at the bottom of that 50-foot cliff, there was another pile of garbage. And we thought, well, one big pile's better than 2 little piles, and rather than bring that one up, we decided to throw ours down. Went back to the church and had a Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat, and didn't get up until the following morning when we got a phone call from Officer Obie. He said, "Kid, we found your name on an envelope at the bottom of a half-ton of garbage, and we was wondering if you had any information about it." And I said, "Yes, sir, Officer Obie, I cannot tell a lie. I put that envelope under that garbage." Well, after talking to Obie for about 45 minutes on the telephone there like that, we finally arrived at the truth of the matter, and we had to go down and pick up the garbage. But first, he wanted to see us at the police officer station. Now, friends, there's only 1 or 2 things that Obie could have done. And the first was he could have pinned a medal on us for being so brave and honest on the telephone like that, which wasn't very likely and we didn't expect it. And the second was he could have hauled us out of town and told us never to be seen driving garbage in the vicinity again, which is kind of what we expected. But when we got to the police officer station, there was a third possibility that we hadn't even considered. And we was both arrested, handcuffed. And I looked at Obie and said, "Obie, I don't think I can pick up the garbage with these handcuffs on." He said, "Shut up, kid. Get in the back of the patrol car." So we got in the back of the patrol car and headed off to the ordeal of the crime. The friend Friends, I'd like to tell you about the town of Stockbridge, Massachusetts, where all this was happening. They got 3 stop signs, 2 police officers, and 1 patrol car. But when we got to the scene of the crime, there was 5 police officers and 3 patrol cars seeing the biggest crime of the last 50 years, and everybody wanted to get into the newspaper story about it. And they was using up all kinds of cop equipment that they had hanging around the police officer station. They were taking plaster tire tracks, plaster footprints, fingerprints, dog snow prints. And they took 27 8x10 color glossy photographs with the circles and the arrows and the paragraph on the back explaining what each one was to be used as evidence against us in court. They took pictures of the approach, the getaway, the northwest corner, the southwest corner, not to mention the aerial photography. Well, at the end of the ordeal, Opie took us back to the police officer station and said he was going to lock us in the cell. But he said, "Kid, before I lock you in the cell, I want your wallet and your belt." And I said, "Opie, I can understand you're wanting my wallet, so I won't have any money to spend in the cell. But what do you want my belt for?" And he said, "Kid, we don't want any hangings." And I said, "Opie, did you think I was really going to hang myself for littering?" Well, he said he was just making sure, and friends making sure he was, 'cause he took out the toilet seat so I couldn't hit myself over the head and drown. And he took out the roll of toilet paper so I couldn't roll the roll of toilet paper out the window and have an escape. Yeah, making sure he was. And it was about 4 or 5 hours later that Alice, remember Alice? It's a song about Alice. Well, with a few nasty words to Opie on the side, she bailed us out of jail. We went back to church and had another Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat, and didn't get up until the next day when we had to go to court. We went in and sat down. Opie came in with the 27 8x10 color glossy photographs with the circles and arrows and the paragraph on the back explained what each one was to be used as evidence against us. And he sat down. A man come in and said, "All rise." We stood up. And Opie stood up with the 27 8x10 color glossy photographs with the circles and arrows and the paragraph on the back explained what each one was to be used as evidence against us. And the judge come in with his seeing eye dog, and he sat down, and we sat down. And Opie looked at the seeing eye dog, and then he looked back at the 27 8x10 color glossy photographs with the circles and the arrows and the paragraph on the back explained what each one was to be used as evidence against us. And then he looked back at the seeing eye dog. And then he looked back at the 27 8x10 color glossy photographs with the circles and arrows and the paragraph on the back explaining what each one was to be used as evidence against us, and Opie began to cry. Because he had come to the realization that this was another case of American blind justice, and the judge wasn't going to look at the 27 8x10 color glossy photographs. And we was fined $50 and had to pick up the garbage in the snow. But that's not why I'm here singing a song. I'm here to tell you about the draft. They got a building down in New York called Whitehall Street where you go in for your physical examination and you get inspected, injected, infected, detected, neat collected and selected. And I went in that morning, and I had gotten good drunk the night before, so I looked and felt my best. Because I wanted to look like the all-American kid from New York City. I wanted to be the all-American kid from New York City. So I went in that morning, I was hung down, brung down, all sorts of mean, nasty things. And they give me a piece of paper and they said, see the psychiatrist in room 604. So I went in, saw the psychiatrist, and I said, Shrink, I want to kill. I want to kill. I want to eat dead, burnt bodies, blood and guts hanging in my teeth. I want to kill. Kill, kill. And I was jumping up and down, yelling, kill, kill. And he got up with me. And we was both jumping up and down, yelling, kill, kill, kill. And the sergeant come in, and he pinned a medal on me. And he said, kid, you're our boy. I wasn't too happy about it, though. So I proceeded to see all the other people there at the Whitehall place getting more injections and inspections, and they was leaving no part untouched. I was there for 3 hours, 4 hours. I was there for a long time, having a tough time there. And finally, at the end of the ordeal, I came to the last man. And I looked at him and I said, what do you want? And he said, kid, we only got one question. Have you ever been arrested? And I proceeded to tell him the full orchestrated part of Alice's Restaurant Massacre and all details. And he stopped me right there and he said, kid, did you ever go to court? And I proceeded to tell him about the 27 8x10 color glossy photographs with the circles and the arrows and the paragraph on the back explained what each one was to be used as evidence against us. And he stopped me and he said, kid, I want you to go sit over there on that bench that's marked Group W. Now, kid. So I went over to the Group W bench. Now, Group W is where they put you if you may not be moral enough to join the Army after committing your special crime. And they had mother rapers, father stabbers, father rapers sitting right there on the bench next to me. And there was all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly looking people. And then the meanest, nastiest, ugliest father raper of them all come up to me. And he said, kid, what did you get? And I said, I didn't get nothing. I had to pay $50 and pick up the garbage in the snow. And he looked at me and he said, kid, what were you arrested for? And I said, littering. And they all moved away from me on the bench there. They were all giving me all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly looks until I said, and creating a nuisance. And they all came back and they shook my hand and we was having a grand time. Talking about father raping and murder and all kinds of groovy, neat stuff. And then the sergeant come over and he had a piece of paper in his hand. And he said, kid, this piece of paper here's got 297 words, 58 sentences, 27 lines, 4 paragraphs. We want to know everything you got to say about the crime, details of the crime, arresting officer's name, location, time of the crime. And he talked like that for about 45 minutes. And we didn't understand a single word that he said. But we had fun filling out the forms and playing with the pencils and smoking cigarettes. And I had completed filling out the form, and I turned the paper over, and there on the other side, away from everything else, printed in capital letters, quotated, read the following words: "Kid, have you rehabilitated yourself?" Well, I walked up to the sergeant and I said, "Sergeant, you got a lot of damn gall to ask me if I've rehabilitated myself. I mean, I'm sitting here on the Group W bench. I'm sitting here on the Group W bench because you want to know if I'm moral enough to join the army and burn women, houses, and children after being a litter bug?" And he said, "Kid, we don't like your kind, and we're going to send your fingerprints off to Washington." So friends, somewhere in Washington, enshrined in some little manila folder, is a study in black and white of my fingerprints. And the only reason I'm telling you this story is because you might know somebody in a similar situation. Or you might be in a similar situation. And if you're in a situation like that, well, there's only one thing you can do. You gotta walk in and sing a bar at Alice's restaurant. Now, if only one person did, they'd think he was crazy and they wouldn't take him. And if two people did it, well, they'd think they were both faggots and they wouldn't take either of them. And if three people did it, can you imagine 3 people a day walking in and singing a bar at Alice's restaurant and walking out? Well, they may think it's an organization. And can you imagine 50 people a day? 50 people a day walking in and singing a bar at Alice's restaurant and walking out? Well, friends, it would be a movement. The Alice's Restaurant Anti-Massacre Movement. And all you gotta do to join is sing it the next time it comes around on the guitar. So we'll just wait a little bit. Ready? Here it comes. Here we go. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just half a mile from the railroad tracks. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Now that was horrible. I could hear you over the internet. Some of you weren't singing loudly. Now, if you want to hate war and protest all, you gotta sing with pride and volume, full orchestration and 3-part harmony. So we'll try it again in a moment here. We'll just wait for it to come around on the guitar one more time. By now. So here we go. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant, except an Alice. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just you want at Alice's restaurant. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.